Hi guys and welcome back to my new video. Today we're going to talk about obviously maybe arguing about this, what I think actually about Assassin's Creed in general and much more. So this video I wanted to just talk about obviously what do you think and obviously what do I change about this series, because for me I think that this series also needs to change a lot and needs a reboot. What do you think about this? Let me know in the comments down below. With this said, we can actually just start obviously the video. Well, I think that this series has gone really so far. Right now, I'm also reading obviously the book that just inspired everything about this saga. And well, guys, I think that this kind of obviously saga, it's actually pretty good. I mean, I really love this one, but it has a lot of problems, obviously, with the present day, with the stuff, with the characters, with the newborns, obviously, with those new guys, obviously, new characters, and new games, new type of combat, a new type of obviously gameplay. Well, with all of this, what do you actually think? Well, I think that this series needs obviously a reboot, and not because it's actually not a good game or not a good saga, because it has lost obviously its identity. And I think that obviously with this kind of obviously new entries, this will also just become more and more stretchy. So I actually think that the good thing that Assassin's Creed can actually become is or something that is only focused on obviously the differences, the fights against obviously Templars and Assassins, or something new that is also obviously the same thing that we got, for example, for the first 5 games and then with the first 3 games of the RPG saga. That's obviously something that is also obviously mixed up with the present day and the story with the characters. But I think that if they want to just reboot obviously all of this type of for example type of obviously saga, they need to just restart from the beginning and just try to just create a new story maybe. So let's just take for example that Shadows is the last Assassin's Creed game for every year, so this is the last one. And maybe in a few years Ubisoft came out and obviously just saying that they have a new idea. So with this new idea they're trying to just create something new that obviously it's the same of Assassin's Creed, but they are trying to just create something linear. I'm not saying this because I didn't like obviously the RPG style, but I'm saying this because I think that they will just create more and more of the type of gameplay, type of story that is actually better writing, that is actually better than the last few games. That's obviously full and filled obviously with a lot of details that want to just play obviously that game, and players like this. So what will this one be? I think that this game, obviously all of these new games, would have been more likely the first ones, because I just prefer to have actually a linear story. Maybe if you don't like it, you can actually just choose not 100% obviously linear story, but one that is actually pretty similar to it, because it's also really better than obviously the last ones where you can actually just do whatever you want and in order and every type of order that you want. So with this one you're going to see obviously your character just grow and change and see everything from their perspective. Then I also like to just see them with only one protagonist and only one that they chooses obviously with their choices, because I think that the characters, the protagonists, don't have to just have obviously their choices. I mean, you can't choose what they have to do. They have obviously there's something to do, they have their emotions, and they do this. So you can't actually just control them as we actually did for obviously Valhalla, for example, Mirage a bit, obviously also Shadows, Origins and Odyssey. because with this one you can actually just create your own version to the characters. But if you want actually a real linear story, you have to just completely not destroy the world, but maybe you can actually just use obviously this type of mechanics to the time where you can actually just have something secondary, where you can actually just choose to do it obviously in that moment or in the future. And that's kind of the idea that I have. That's the first one. The second one is obviously for the gameplay. I mean, for the combat, I think that I like the style obviously of Shadows. I mean, that's a kind of a really base because I think that if they start with that base, we can actually have a pretty good obviously combat style for the future. I hope so. For example, I mean, I know that Ubisoft is kind of controversial, but I hope so. Then with the parkour, I think that the best parkour we got was obviously a mixture for me of Shadows for his obviously running animation with the velocity, with all of these things, with all of his strength, and for me something that is actually a mixture from Syndicate and Origins. Origins obviously for his type of build, I mean, because it's actually something that you can actually just climb a lot of things, and just obviously for some jumps that for example in Shadows you can do. And Syndicate for the world itself that is obviously more designed for parkour. Obviously if you want only a type of obviously world that is also and only designed for parkour, you have to just go with a world that is kind of more similar to Unity or even Mirage. But it's all depending on something else. And I think that also this type of worlds can be actually the same and can be all actually good, but I still prefer a type of setting similar to Origins because they obviously it has a lot of cities, and maybe this type of cities could have been more and more bigger and obviously linear to just do more parkour. So a type of obviously maps that just mixes Origins and Mirage, for example, to just understand this. And obviously with the stealth mechanics, I think that with Syndicate and also Shadows works really good. And I hope that they'll also just continue this type of obviously idea with this with the parkour with the and obviously with the stealth. Now we have to talk about obviously the story. As I said before, I want to just something obviously that is obviously more linear. And not only this, because if I have to obviously talk about obviously some kind of maybe a period of time that I would like to just see, I don't know. I mean, I would like to just see a World War One inspired Assassin's Creed game because I'm actually a lover for this type of stories. But I think that it would have been more and more concern, and maybe it would have been more and more interesting for players going back to their roots. So we know that they started with a book, and that was obviously the one that just started the game with Assassin's Creed, the first one. I think that they could probably restart all of their franchise in the same period of time. Not with Altair, but with something similar that you will understand everything from the beginning. And obviously, with the present day, maybe you can actually start from our scratch with obviously or Desmond or obviously our protagonist right now that is kind of Basim, if I'm not wrong. But I think that I would prefer more and more something kind of a video that explain all of the situation of the present day, and then something that goes more and more through all of these elements and then starts the game. What do you think about this, guys? I think that this maybe is actually a pretty good idea, not because it's mine, but I think that this would have been such a good idea to just follow. So that's kind of all for today, guys. Let me know what you think about it in the comments down below, obviously, and leave a like for and subscribe to my channel. Bye, guys.